Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7:05 p.m. and the date is Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates. The alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are members Joe Kraus and alternate member Aaron Thomas, who will be a voting member tonight. I'm Lisa Carson, the acting chair. Also present is zoning administrator, Mr. David Riggs. We have only 3 members present. The appellant has agreed that the case be heard with 3 members only, and they understand that they need all 3 votes in their favor. Is that understood?
May I ask why it's not the majority? Because I understand that 3 is for 5.
It's just, apparently, this is just the rule. It has to be, if it's only 3, it's got to be 3 yays.
Right, if it's less than the majority, since there's only 3 out of 7, it has to be all or nothing.
Do you want to reconsider?
How do I know that I will have 5 next time? Because I didn't know that I would have 3 this
I
time.
know, it's really, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
We usually do have
So I.
5.
We've never
Yeah,
had
this has never
this
happened.
little before in the
So-
nearly 2 years
so
I've been here.
basically, I have no choice because any further delay, my business pay more and more.
Yeah,
We understand
Yeah.
that position.
so you'll go ahead then? Okay, I apologize.
Sure.
The board operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator will state the basis of the objection, and is that true tonight? Any applicable facts?
Interpretation.
The
Yes.
basis of the, yeah, the
Inter-
interpretation and applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why their argument should be viewed favorably. And I'm skipping the rest because there won't be any reading of letters in favor or opposed, or testimony in favor or opposed, because this is not a variance request, it's an interpretation
Right.
request. So we are here just to make an interpretation of what the zoning administrator has determined about this question of eating and drinking establishments. So, after everyone speaks who is meant to speak, the testimony shall be closed and the board will deliberate and render a decision. The BZA has the power to hear and decide appeals filed by the appellant that there is an error in a decision by the zoning inspector or other administrative official in the enforcement and interpretation of the provisions of the zoning code, and that's what we are here for tonight. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens aggrieved by a decision of the board may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the board to the applicant. There is only one case on tonight's agenda, and that is concerning the property at 333 East State Street. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? If you're going to speak, you got to,
That's
you guys. Yeah. Please stand.
Are we speaking from the podium?
Yeah, but just at this moment.
At this
you're
moment,
swe-
just-
This is
just-
just for swearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you just stand?
Sure.
Sorry. That's okay. Yeah. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so. The property, oh, you can be seated,
You can
yeah.
sit- you can sit. Sorry.
We'll
Very sorry.
invite you to go to the podium in just a moment. Sorry about that. So regarding this property at 333 East State Street, it's a B3 business zone. The appellant is requesting an interpretation on the definition of an eating and drinking establishment, and to determine if the proposed use by Dr. May's Thai Kitchen located on the commercial property would fit within the city's definition of an eating and drinking establishment. They're requesting a clarification regarding the proposed use of Dr. May's Thai Kitchen, if said use would be any different from other existing businesses that operate in the same manner and zone. So at this point, if Mr. Riggs has any comment to make about his judgment?
Yeah, this is part of the powers of the board appellate jurisdiction where you can tell me whether my interpretation of this section of the code, it's part of B3 zones where eating and drinking establishments are permitted with, but they have to be at least 200 feet. The principal building has to be at least 200 feet from any residential zone. That doesn't occur in this particular case. So the question is this an eating and drinking establishment? We don't have any definition of that in the city's codified ordinance. So it's not clear to our office whether this is considered to be an eating and drinking establishment.
That's very clear. So we have to decide, the three of us, whether we think a carryout qualifies as an eating and drinking establishment according to the code. Alrighty. And now we can hear testimony from the appellants. If whoever wishes to speak could go to the podium. Thank you. Please start by stating your name and address, and then tell us anything you'd like to tell us.
Hi, I'm May Rath from 135 North Congress Street. I'm the owner of Dr. May's Thai Kitchen. We bought the property 333 on East State Street, and our goal is to move our storefront inside the market on the state, inside the mall, to the new building. Because basically, Dr. May's Thai Kitchen run the food truck as the main business. But in Ohio, you cannot run the food truck in the winter. It's important that you can keep hot water or hot food hot during that kind of temperature. So in the first year, we lost a lot of business because we run the food truck only. So we have to think about what we can do in the winter time. And then that is when the storefront coming in. And it's not just that, we used AceNet for our operation before. And if you know, AceNet has 135 businesses. And since it's a shared kitchen, sometimes it's critical time when you have to run for the event that you have to serve 5,000 people for your food truck. You can't really work with many facility or many business together at one time in the kitchen. And that's why we have the idea that we have to have a commissary for our food truck to be able to prepare the food for our food truck. So Dr. May's Thai Kitchen storefront serve two purposes: to be a commissary for the food truck, that's mainly, and whenever the food truck cannot, let's say, operate for the business, we have to find the income, which is we cook the food and put it in the grab-and-go cooler, which you're probably able to see from the picture that we attach, and that how we sell the food and make income for the business during the winter time. And I remember we walked to the code office. Me walked to the code office, and one of the officers asked me, because I applied for the peddler license for the food truck. Since we get that property, we know it's going to take some time before we can move the storefront into the building. So the only way that we can afford to pay the space at AceNet, which we still have some space in that, and the mall and the new property, is we have to have an income right away, which is we still can operate from the food truck. So we do the peddler license. And I don't remember the name, and I tried to look online, but there's no picture on the website of the code office. But I remember how he looked. And he asked me what I would like to do with that building. And he said that, do you know that you cannot do drive-in? And I said, we never want to do drive-in. This is not our business. Do you know that you cannot do drive-through? And I say, I never do drive-through, and we cannot do that. I'm the only one in my business since we started 4 years ago, and it's still me. So I can't do that, and it's not my business. And say, you cannot have a sit-in. And I say, we never have a sit-in, and we never want to. And say, oh, so you should be okay. And now it's come to my surprise that I have to be here today for the interpretation. And actually, I have been told that I have to go to variance. And that's why I have emailed Mr. Mayor to ask, like, I'm not sure how to understand the situation because my business is pretty niche and different. So I'm not sure how we would fit in the drive-through, drive-in, and eating and drinking establishment. And when we look at my tax for my business, we run on a different NAIC code, which is in the SAM system. So if you look in the SAM system, if you search for the word food, the word drinking establishment, the word drinking will have the keyword in the bracket right away, alcohol consumption or alcohol selling. So there is no way that you can, to me, that I can interpret somewhere else because it's really say that. So I never sell alcohol. I feel like I'm not fit in that drinking. And when you look at eating, you still have different NAIC code, which is, to me, it's a limited service. So I'm not sure how that would fit into that. And that's why I think it's better to understand what is the definition of eating and drinking establishment for Athens City, because I feel it's for only my business, but for the future business. I look for the definition on the internet, and I found so many state and town. And the one in Ohio is only from Cincinnati, so I don't have the one from Athens. Yeah, and to me, as a not English speaker, eating and drinking is a word of action. So it's not just like when you see food or you see a bottle of drink, you say this is eating and drinking, because you not eat and you not drink. And at Dr. May's Kitchen Storefront, we don't even have 1% of space for anyone can eat. We not even serve like fork or spoon unless you ask for that, which is not my main purpose. And I look for the meaning of when in the U.S. in the Legal Information Institute, it said the majority of the gross square feet of the space that is used for that purpose. So I think it's important if you ask about, if you cut down, if Dr. May's Kitchen is really eating and drinking establishment, it means you have to remove, to be able to remove those. And that should affect my business right away, because I mainly on the eating and drinking. But can you move the share from my business? Can you move the eating and drinking out of my business? Would that affect my business? Because no one eating and drinking at my business. But thinking the other way around, if you move the table out of McDonald's or some drinking out of space from Casa, would that affect the business? I believe it does, because they're eating and drinking places. And during the time of the pandemic, they what you call like an order from the governor divine that asked the eating and drinking establishment to prohibit or stop serving the food on their premises. And it's not affect us because we not fit in the same category. Our business never have to stop doing anything regarding eating and drinking because we are not.
Yeah, we didn't have to shut.
You can go up to the podium.
Yeah, you'll need to.
Just state your name. Well, I just had a question for her. So with the location, is this going to be strictly just carry out inside of the The home front. We won't call it storefront, but.
Yeah,
So it's
because
just gonna be a cooler type deal. People, will you move your food prep to the location from
We-
AceNet?
we have the Walmart, right now we don't have to move food from ASNet anymore because we passed the level 3. Yeah, and actually our kitchen didn't even have a hood,
Okay.
if you know that. We didn't even have hood. So we able to warm soup or curry or something like, and put in the container so people can take out. And that's the only way Dr. May Thai Kitchen make money during winter time, because we can't do food truck anymore. Mostly our food truck can run. This year we try until November, but that's it. Because once you grill the chicken and put in the warmer, you either have to heat it so hot to keep it hot and dry your chicken out, or you have to keep it a little lower, but the chicken get cold. And even the time you take it out from the warmer and put on the tray and hand to people, some people even walk back, hey, we buy you a hot food.
Yeah.
Why you serve me the cold chicken? So it's like,
Right.
it's really can't, from the type of the food that I'm doing.
Well, that's what we're interpreting tonight to look at. Would just be kind of like a grab and go, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Not a sit down restaurant. Is this gonna be coolers, warmers?
Yeah.
It's becoming a bigger trend around the country with the ghost kitchens. You know, people are just pick up and type go, or Uber drivers are picking up and going. Nobody's sitting down. So that's kind of what we here interpret. You know, what it's gonna be. You know. not
Yeah,
necessarily-
and right now, if we look at the newest grant from the state of Ohio, they have the new business grant, and the word they use is food and beverage.
Right.
Which is, if you talk about food and beverage, Dr. May's Thai Kitchen will be fit 100%. Because it's not just about eating.
Right.
If you see food, that is food. It's not about action.
Right. I see the point. So you'll still be doing the food preparation at AceNet?
If it's a big event and catering, we have to do that.
Yeah.
Because our storefront not able to do.
So
You
the
have to be
storefront-
level 4 to do
Okay.
the catering.
So you'll be warming it or keeping it warm or, yeah, heating it up and
But you won't
then
be
preparing it for.
Yeah.
But you're not prepping it.
I don't know if it would even matter. I'm just kind of curious.
Right.
Because the question is whether it's people sitting down to eat, right? I
And-
think that the point that
and-
you make
I'm sorry.
about the pandemic is a very good one, because we've seen so many restaurants close to sit-down dining, but do the curbside pickup and so
Sure.
on. And that seems like a pretty strong distinction, right? You can't eat in, but you can do pickup. And that's basically, as I understand it, what you were asking for at this address.
Because at the mall, it's just pickup, correct? You just, people,
Yeah,
so are people just ordering online, or are they gonna walk up and you got stuff already?
Basically, we encourage them to order online. Some people still able to walk in through the front when we have the what you call the plexiglass.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of like waiting, and they kind of start to learn that it's better to order ahead of time.
When I walked past it yesterday, are there a couple picnic tables outside in the back
Oh, where is it?
by the
Someone mentioned
by the
that.
parking lot? I thought I saw there was maybe a picnic table or
By
or
the
two.
parking lot? You mean at the mall or
No,
at the
Oh, I'm sorry,
street?
at
At
333 East State Street.
Yeah, at the 333 East State Street. You have to understand first that Dr. May's Thai Kitchen has 2 sub-business. So we run by 2 NAIC code for the tax. You have 722-513 and you have 722-330, which is a limited takeout, limited service restaurant and mobile food service. And those tables serve our mobile food service. Because we know that people sometimes, I have the customers sit on the glass, like what they call the grass and footpath in front of me before. And that is not what I want to do. I mean, I didn't ask them, hey, please sit and eat, but it's their choice to do that. And since we not have the food truck in the winter, those tables not going to be there.
Okay, interesting.
And if you ask me from this day, I probably have 2 customers sit on that table. Since I opened from May.
Right.
Okay.
Now, would that be is that something that came up with the tables?
Yeah, is that-
Since that's for the food truck and not the carry out, or? How would that be
Looking at
distinguished?
the picnic tables as like a permanent place to sit and eat. Weren't considering it that.
Okay, all right.
We're really looking at it, the question really is for us as the code office, is takeout, and is it, you know, making takeout and selling it, is that an eating and drinking establishment? And it's just not clear in the code.
If we were to vote tonight to interpret, to grant their interpretation, is it possible that council would then still, could they revisit code and add clarifications, or?
Yeah, it's my recommendation, and I can't do it, but it'd be my recommendation to council to review this, because we keep stumbling over the same
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
of code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get this corrected, or at least define what it is we're talking about here.
It's becoming more popular over the past year and a half.
Yes.
Like the bigger cities, they're offering these ghost kitchens.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
people are just renting big warehouse spaces and putting 10 places in like
Okay.
this.
Wow.
And Uber drivers
Yeah.
and DoorDash people are basically just picking stuff up, but it's not a sit-down establishment. It's basically, all right, I'm picking up this meal and here you go, and you go.
Yeah, we've had lots of talk about that as well, because with the Uber and the food service where people are picking up and doing deliveries, Grubhub and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right.
We're gonna have to modify our code to account for these new things that are coming up. You
Right.
know, as our culture changes and we're doing different things. You know, it used to be like dance halls and roadhouses.
Right.
And nobody has those
Sure.
anymore, right? So we have to keep updating our code.
Right. That's
Every-
interesting, isn't
Everything is changing in that. We don't want to see
Same
so
with
many,
food
so
trucks.
many
Right.
vacancies.
Years ago.
Right,
Sure.
yes, exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's going to in most major areas, is that people are just getting storefronts, but not, you know, no chairs, no seats, no nothing.
Got to do something, and we got to do something in this town. We see so many vacancies that, you know, got to
Yeah.
find ways to help.
That's very true. Okay, let's see if my paperwork, so, yeah, I was wondering if, and there's any more testimony, if either of you would like to add anything at this point before we close?
Sure, no, please don't. Oh, state your
Yeah,
your
hello.
name. Or your-
My name is Nathan Rath, and I'm manager at Dr. May's Thai Kitchen, and I live at 135 North Congress Street, Athens. So, it's, as May stated earlier, not to recover too much ground, but she said this is something where we're not going to be the last folks asking this question, and from my standpoint, I'd like to have an idea of what our next, what the definition is, so that we can move on to the next step, you know, whatever we need to do. And if that's, you know, to approach this from a variance standpoint, or to reach out to, you know, the community and kind of get a sense of the atmosphere. And I know that's not part of the interpretation, but we've received quite a bit of positive feedback so far, and so I haven't really heard anything negative yet, and so that's you know, definitely encourages me. And but you know, looking at this and saying, you know, it would be a commercial kitchen. It'd be just what we had in the paperwork there that we showed the pictures of. It does have a you know, cooking there with it's a hoodless system, so it's actually, I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they're an alternative to installing a hood and you know, blowing stuff outside. So if that's any indication of the type of operation that we run, I think you know, that's in May said, you know, it never was our intention to have a sit down. When I read I don't have the code right in front of me, but that particular piece of code, it said drive in, drive through, like drive-in, kind of like the Sonic, you know, in Nelsonville, kind of, you know, drive in, drive through, and then eating and drinking. And what you know, I thought of immediately was drinking as, when I say I'm going drinking, it doesn't mean I'm going to have a soda, it means I'm going to the bar to have a beer or something, you know, an alcoholic beverage. But that's kind of my 2 cents, my take on it. But once I started to look into it, I saw that the definition was anything and everything anybody wanted to interpret on there, all the way to the prepackaged foods and things that people were selling. And when I look at the tax code and the regulations that we have to meet there, as far as when we file taxes and when we actually are a licensed business in West Virginia, for example, and their prepared foods are taxed there, opposed to here in Ohio, food, any type of food is not taxed unless it has some type of a sin tax attached to it, like sugar added beverages. So if you sell soda, for example, you're, being that it has sugar added, it is taxed differently. And so you have different reporting responsibilities. So from the things May mentioned and the other, that SAM's, if you're not familiar with, is the federal. It's
I'm
the,
familiar with
so yeah, just see,
Yeah.
I'm not sure everyone is familiar. It's quite a lengthy process but that allows you to bid on federal government contracts. And so anyhow, just looking at those and their definitions, it didn't take out is it seems like it's not an eating and drinking establishment to me, but that's not my place to decide. So, to me, it means the other, sit-down restaurant, full service, or even selling alcohol, that sort of thing. And when we drill down into some of the zoning aspects of it and the thought behind it, it's to preserve the residential neighborhood, not, so if we sell alcohol there, are we going to have people, popping open their bottle and hanging out on the curb or this? And I see a lot of places where that sort of situation could arise, but they have fences or they have some sort of other mechanism in place to kind of, I won't say corral, but to prohibit people from going directly from the retail space to the residential space and those sorts of things. So, was there anything else that May had mentioned that I might be able to clarify before I'm done speaking? Like, do you have any questions?
I think things were pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Sam's, all the Sam stuff is federal. So then you go break it down to Ohio, then you get to the state, and then you go down to
Yeah.
local.
Well, and actually, when you get to the state, I look at some of the Ohio Revised Code, and they have some on food safety, and I pulled that up, and it says a commercial kitchen, you're not allowed to eat, there's no eating and drinking or tobacco use in the commercial kitchen. And it says except in designated areas or capped containers. So that's like, you take a drink, basically it's water so people don't get dehydrated while they're working. And so, to say it's a commercial kitchen's an eating and drinking establishment would kind of go against what the Ohio Revised Code's saying. You're not allowed to eat in the commercial kitchen except with the exclusion of the designated area for the employees. So, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So I think we're done. So we need to have a motion, I guess. The motion, John is suggesting here that the motion could be made to either agree with the decision of the code office, which would be to say that this is an eating and drinking establishment and therefore is prohibited, or to disagree with the decision of the code office, which would be supporting the appellant's view that they are not an eating and drinking establishment, but only carry out, and therefore not prohibited. Can someone make a motion either to agree or disagree with the decision of the code office?
Make a motion to disagree with the code office that it is a eating and drinking establishment.
I second it.
All right. Are we ready to go ahead and vote? Do you want to discuss it?
Huh?
Do you have anything you want to say about it?
No.
Okay, yeah, I think we're ready. Joe?
So I'm voting against, am I saying it right? I'm voting against the interpretation of the city.
That's right.
saying
He
it
said the motion is that we disagree.
So I agree with the disagreement. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we agree to disagree.
I agree with the
Agree to
disagreement.
disagree.
And
I agree to
Aaron?
disagree.
I agree to disagree with the city.
And I also agree to disagree with the city. So you do have the interpretation that you're looking for. And city council is probably, hopefully, will be looking into this, because there are some big changes in our
Sure.
world. We're not going to do approval of the minutes because we don't have enough of the members present who attended and voted. So unless anyone has anything, we can go ahead and adjourn. Anybody? All right, this meeting.